back to Nicholas Comic Corner Classic Lesson Known Classics. This is episode number 2045, and is it 2045? Yeah, 2044, excuse me, and Doubleshot 1938. I got two X-Men trades, and, excuse me, that's better. They have basically two things in common. They have one thing in common. Both these trades feature an appearance by Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw. Yep. Now, this first book just started just this year. And the other one's the end of a run. Well, volume anyways. First up, we have the Immortal X-Men. This spins out of the events of Inferno. Yep. And like the main X-Men book, this is a series of one-shot issues. No story arc per se, just a series of one-shot issues. Excuse me, it collects the first 6 issues of this ongoing series. You're probably thinking, who writes this series, you might ask? Why, it's Kieron Gillen, of course, making his return to X-Books first time in 10 years. Yes, because the last time he wrote an X-Men book was AVX Consequences. That came out in 2012. That was the last official time he was associated with the X-Men comics. He's done stuff since then, and now he's back here with the X-Books. And recently he did a crossover called Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day. Yep. Which, by the way, he did write the tie-in for this book. They came up with that one. Now, this book, like in the case of main X-Men book, has got multiple artists. The cover is mostly for the first 4 issues. In issue 6, done by Mark Brooks. Issue 5, cover is by Kasumi Kamikaze and Jesus Barreto. The interior artwork for issues 1 through 3 and 6 is done by Lucas Warnock, and issues 4 and 5 are by Michelle Burney. Now, the first issue is mostly first start off basically stuff related to Mr. Sinister, his past, and also relates to Destiny and Mystique. And it finally cut to the first issue of the series, where it mostly starts with Mr. Sinister. And we have a meeting of the Quiet Council, where in the opening issue of the series, Magneto steps on for the Quiet Council. Yep. And there's actually an election in place. There are 2 people who want his chair. Hope Summers and Selene. The position ended up going to Hope Summers. And Selene, there was some stuff excess, and she had to be killed by... They all voted, and basically Hope... And the reason why Hope really wanted to be on the council, because she wanted representation from the 5 who actually were responsible for resurrecting everybody to have a voice in the council. Yeah, but Selene lost to Hope. And then, of course, basically, Selene, as being a sort of loser, transformed the Arcade into a monster. And by the way, it's wrapped up by the end of the issue. More stuff, Mr. Sinister. And of course, we have supposedly a clone of Margaret Taggart in a tank. Issue 2 is focused on... Well, it actually is a 2-parter, the opening story arc here. Yeah, first issue are 2-part. Deals with that. So, they do wrap up the story arc here by the end of the issue. Selene supposedly dies, gets killed by Hope Summers, resurrected, gets basically killed again by Exits, and then resurrected again to forget all this. And then we lead into stuff with Mystique and Destiny, which leads into issue number 3, which basically is all about Destiny and Mystique. Now, mostly put, this book does tease future stuff. One of the events it does tease is the Judgment Day crossover. Thinking, really? It does tease it? Oh yeah, it does. Yes. Like, this issue, pretty much in a way, just teases, like, various stuff here. It teases a Judgment Day crossover, Sins of Sinister, and various other stuff here. Yes. Plus, of course, the whole thing is about her writing her new will. And, for me, and Mystique basically is just there. And we also have her sort of over time, over the years when they first met, kind of basically deal with a little bit of history. And we see this. Yeah, it teases of two big events. You might be curious, though, is Dark Web crossover teased here? No, it isn't. Mostly put, the only thing is teased here is just Sin and Sinister and Judgment Day. That's basically it. And then we have something interesting happen. Like, we have, these are the things we have. We have, like, New Krakatoa, Spark and Courage, and Judgment Day. Various stuff teased here. Reign of A, basically for Apocalypse. And then we have something that basically anybody who's... Now, this is something that never happened prior to this book before. Disney basically just does the Immortal stuff, and then takes off her mask with be her wife. And then we see something that has never seen before. Now, these two have been confirmed to be a couple for decades. And this issue here, this is the first time we ever see this. We see Destiny and Mystique making out. Now, me personally, don't have a problem with this. Because Mystique has been confirmed as bisexual for years. And these two have been confirmed to be basically be a couple. It's perfectly fine. And then, of course, it's implied in the very next panel, these two apparently had sex right after they finished talking to each other. Because they love each other. And, of course, basically, at the finish reading it, Destiny's like, tells Mystique, do not read it, and it's not brought up again, mostly. Issue 4 is all focused upon Emma Frost, where it's all focused on her. Whereas apparently she's been sleeping in her diamond form a lot. And the whole issue just focused on her. I mentioned a little bit of Hellfire Gala, probably another one. And that's most of what this issue is about, just about her. Issue 5 is called Meditation of X, and it's mostly a strange cult issue. It's focused on X death. It's mostly what this issue is. Issue number 6, basically, is all focused on Sebastian Shaw. Yes, Sebastian Shaw. Yeah, good stuff here. I really enjoy this book. It's just really good. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, Kieron Gillen is back to what I like by his work. I've heard his run for Uncanny X-Men was described as very boring. Like, actually, it was more like, I think it was either his run of Matt Fractions, or I've heard described as very boring. But I don't have much input on that. I do enjoy the runs by X-Men. So let's move on to something else. We have Maruders. This is, of course, by Gerry Duggan. This is, of course, actually the end of his run. No, seriously, this is the end of his run of Maruders. Because with this... Now, the final issue 27 was released back in December, 1 year ago. Yep, and this pretty much is the end of Volume 1 for Maruders, because Wrath 27, which by the way was released the same month as issue 27 for Excalibur, and basically issue 28 for Staff Avengers. All three books both ended in December of last year. Two of us has been relaunched, Staff Avengers and Maruders, while Excalibur was relaunched as Knights of X. Mostly put in these issues, one of the things revealed here is that a former lover of Sebastian Shaw is alive, and Emma Frost basically just sort of convinces, well, actually she tells Sebastian Shaw the fact that he wants to do with him, like, she wants the position. She's like, sure, I accept. Emma Frost's like, what? Seriously, you accept? Yeah, give him more time focus to the Quiet Council. And there's also stuff in here related to, not much for the Marauders per se, they don't do very much of the issues, mostly put just basically Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw do a lot of stuff here. There's also stuff in here with a full member of the Hellfire Club when it was basically run by kids. Yeah, basically the girl of the group where she's, well, revealed to be a mutant. Yeah, where she basically just cuts off basically herself from, of all people. Oh, by the way, when they had this woman supposedly die, they had her death basically new identity forged by Wilson Fisk before he became mayor of New York. Yeah. Yeah, and it's also revealed that Chippy Shaw is in fact the illegitimate son of Harry Leland. Yes. I do not know why Gerry Duggan made his retcon for. Despite the fact Chippy Shaw is in fact supposed to be Sebastian Shaw's son. Apparently it's a record. Oh yeah, Harry, this is your bastard son. Yeah. And Chip was like, what the heck is going on here? It's just kind of weird. There's a bit of space stuff here related to Mars. It's just interesting stuff here. Yeah. And Harry Leland, who got... and also appearance here by Iron Man character Fing Fang Foom makes appearance here. Yep. Where he and Iceman have a big brawl. Yes, Iceman. So, Harry himself is basically appointed to be the ambassador of Krakatoa. Yep. Harry Leland, of course, the UN's like, who guys were arcade, like, where's the representative for Krakatoa? But no voice representative. Huh. Harry Leland decides to take up the role. Harry Leland, if you know who this guy is, this guy was the Black Bishop of the Hellfire Club. Well, back in the 80s. He actually died of a heart attack. He wasn't killed per se, he died of a heart attack. He'd been brought back a few times over the years. The first time was actually the pages of Sensational She-Hulk as a zombie. And then when he was properly restored back up, they put salt in his mouth. So he was resurrected again. And then he was briefly resurrected in Narosha for a couple appearances, and that was it for him. And here's back here. Yeah. But this book is just pure fun. I love Maruders. In my opinion, of all the X-Men books, this is the best one, and it still is. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Sadly, the book will be relaunched right after 27, and book's doing okay since then. Done by Steve Orlando this time, not Gerry Duggan, who basically was also, I think the reason why he left this book was because he worked on the main X book. He didn't work on two X books at the same time. Though, as of right now, he's going to be starting his run for Iron Man really soon. Yes, seriously, he starts his run for Iron Man, which is kind of weird, to say the least. Final thoughts on Gerry Duggan's run for Maruders? Great series. Thoroughly enjoyed every issue of this book. Yep. Though, the one thing about this book that was never fallen in love with was the whole thing with Kitty Pryde, where they had her basically kiss a tattoo artist. By the way, her knuckles still say Kill Shaw. That's why she's working with him. Yeah. She got the tattoo on her knuckles that she was briefly murdered by Sebastian Shaw. And, well, aside from she kissed a woman, like, oh, Kitty Pryde got out as bisexual. Yeah, nothing much came of this. Though the one thing I always thought was kind of weird about this book is Kitty Pryde working with Emma Frost, because these two have hated each other for years. Especially due to the fact Kitty Pryde first joined the X-Men. Emma Frost pretty much kidnapped the X-Men and tortured them. Yes. Oh, by the way, I think it was in Immortal X-Men. Emma Frost refers to Scott Summers as love, implying she might be still be in love with him despite the fact that they have been a couple in like a decade. Yep. Yeah, but not much else to say about these two books. Both good. And I'm going to pretty much end it here because it's getting kind of late. So, see you all tomorrow. And on Christmas Eve, I'm hoping to get a chance to get videos on tomorrow. Okay? Next video. Bye.